New this morning, outrage among the president's own supporters over how the Department of Justice is handling the so-called Jeffrey Epstein files. In a series of scathing posts on Twitter, longtime Trump ally, fierce supporter Laura Loomer called for the president to fire Attorney General Pam Bondi. This all happened after a memo released by the Department of Justice and the FBI this week said that accused sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide, confirmed that. The Attorney General also said there is no evidence that Epstein kept a, quote, client list, despite previously suggesting there would be some kind of bombshell. CNN's Elena Treen live at the White House this morning, where this just doesn't seem to be going away, Elena.
Yeah, John, and it's not just, people who are in the MAGA movement, in the president's base, and I will say there's many. It's not just Laura Loomer, but many other prominent people like Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, the list goes on, who have been really reeling from the drop of that memo that the Justice Department released on Sunday, essentially concluding, in their words, that Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide and that there's no so-called client list. But there's a lot of people as well inside the White House, the president's own officials, who are increasingly frustrated with how not just the Justice Department, but specifically Attorney General Pam Bondi has handled this. I mean, I spoke with one Trump advisor. They said that Bondi had bungled this case from the start by overpromising some of the findings that they were anticipating. Another advisor told me that this was a political nightmare, questioning why they released this at this point in time and the way in which they did it. Again, releasing this short memo and also leaking it to a certain media outlet. Look, part of these problems as well that adds to all of this is Bondi's own claim back in February when she was doing an interview with Fox News where she said she had the client list on her desk for review. Now, she was pressed on some of these questions yesterday during the president's cabinet meeting and tried to argue that she was referring to the broader case. I want you to take a listen to both that interview, but also her response.
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file along with the JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that.
Now, look, we talked to a lot of different people following Bondi's answer there yesterday in that cabinet room who said that essentially they are not satisfied by that answer, particularly given so many people in the MAGA movement, so many of the president's supporters, and including even some people in his own administration had previously argued that there was so much more to this case, particularly wanting to unearth potential accomplices to Jeffrey Epstein, not totally satisfied by this. Now, the president, for his part, John, has argued that this is old news. He kind of dismissed some of the questions on this yesterday in that cabinet meeting as a desecration. And we are told that he's not acutely annoyed with Bondi herself. He was briefed on some of these findings last week by Bondi and the FBI Director Kash Patel, but still a lot of people inside the White House not exactly happy with how this all played out.
All right, Elena Treen at the White House this morning. Thank you. With us now, CNN political commentator, Republican strategist Michael Singleton, and Christine Quinn, the executive committee chair of the New York State Democratic Committee. And just to review some of the people calling for Bondi's head here, again, it's Laura Loomer, fierce supporter of the president, putting out these tweets. She needs to be fired. She has tainted the investigation. Elon Musk, one-time friend of the president, saying, how can people be expected to have faith in Trump if he won't release the Epstein files? And then Megyn Kelly, in Politico, pointed this out this morning, said of Pam Bondi, her days are numbered as a member of the Trump administration. I mean, Michael, this isn't just one person now. Yeah. It's a lot, and it's not getting quieter. It's getting louder.
It's not getting quieter, and she made a statement that many believed was accurate, which was that she was going to attempt to prosecute the individuals, whether it's Republican men, Democratic men, who were engaged with Jeffrey Epstein and doing some pretty atrocious and disgusting things against young girls and young women. I mean, what type of society doesn't rally around protecting young girls and women? I've been involved with groups in the past wanting to bring and shine a spotlight on these types of issues. And my hope would be the top cop in the nation would take this very seriously. And she really isn't. And a lot of Republicans are scratching their heads, questioning why. I think this is a bipartisan issue. I think Americans want these powerful men, whoever they are, to be brought to justice.
And the president was asked about this in this cabinet meeting yesterday. Let's listen to how he responded.
And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration.
Christine, the president's wishing it away here, but it was his own supporters, right. People like J.D. Vance, not to mention the people we've all listed there, talking about the Epstein files all during the campaign. I mean, this was a thing that his people were pushing, and now he's like, nothing to see here.
Right, his people pushed it. His appointee brought it back up square in front of everyone with saying there would be prosecutions, things would be released, and now nothing. And what's a desecration is what happened to those girls and those young women, not reporters appropriately asking questions, which are not new questions, but follow-up questions to what Pam Bondi had already put out there. And when you make promises to prosecute, to release information, and you don't, then all theories come up. And it's a terrible thing that there are people saying the president might be on the list. How horrible would that be? They can put all of this to rest by putting all the information out there. And you're right, this isn't Republican or Democrat. This is a matter of justice, and that is what Pam Bondi should be focused on.
And that's why people are upset about with Pam Bondi. I mean, these conservatives, Megyn Kelly, I mean, even Tucker Carlson talking about this. Charlie Kirk had a post on X, and he said, even if Republicans were on the list, would you be okay with them being brought to justice? And overwhelmingly, the responses were yes, because people want to protect the innocence of young girls and young women, and we should all be about that.
And again, it was people within this administration promising it would be released. We'll see where this goes next.
This is supposed to be about the most transparent administration ever.
What on earth is going on? Was Pam Bondi set up by deep state FBI career officials? Is she stupid? Is she so click thirsty that she got out over her skis trying to make news, being a Fox News star?
Pam Bondi, all of it. All those videos are saying, yeah, she's seen the videos. It's all coming out. And then now it doesn't exist. I mean, what? What?
Alex Jones broadcasting from his car. Okay, so how much of a political risk is President Trump taking by dismissing the priorities of portions of the base? CNN's Aaron Blake writes, everyone has their limits. Trump's giving them reasons to be suspect about his and top administration officials' intentions. And there's been at least some evidence of a brewing backlash. Group chat is back. I have to be honest, I remember the backlash, many minutes ago over the strikes on Iran. And it feels like that's a way more significant and important issue than that. And everybody rolled.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think two things. I think we've seen President Trump, this term and last term, be like a rain jacket. Some of these things just roll off of him. But here's the reality. I think we've all been afraid to say this. President Donald Trump is a lame duck president. And so some of these things we're talking about politically will not hurt him because he is a lame duck president. What I'm concerned about what's going to happen in 2026 with the Congress, with Senate. So I think some of these things are going to be harder for the Republican Party to talk about than just President Trump.
Look, I'll be honest. There's so many weird, bizarro, Addams Family-esque stories that people go down rabbit holes when it comes to the MAGA base. I've never read a Jeffrey Epstein story. When somebody complains that Donald Trump has not told us where Elvis is really living, I'm not going to read that ever, also, because Donald Trump is right. We have Texas, and we have what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. We have
but nobody
Iran,
asked
Iraq.
Pam Bondi to make a bunch of binders to hang,
That's
to
fine,
send to the Twitterati. It feels like a cell phone.
I think the mental health of America or Americans is much better off not paying attention to those crazy, shiny things.
Well, to be fair, President Trump has also set up his cabinet to be these sort of TV, Twitter.
Right.
Folks.
Hire
So
professionals.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always,
so I think
always
that's
a good lesson.
that's kind of baked in.
Yeah.
I do think there are a few different stories that we're all going to look at as like litmus tests of how far can the president depart from the MAGA base or press them. I do think like a conspiracy story that President Trump's circle spent a long time fanning until he came into office, and then they had to they were the establishment and they were the government and they had to decide what information to release, is a little bit different than whether he's changing his policy on Russia v. Ukraine or on how to handle deportations of undocumented migrants who are not violent and haven't committed any crimes inside the United States. I put those in two different categories. They both may be tests of the MAGA base, but one is substantively, unless you really think there's a triple conspiracy going on, there wasn't any there to the Epstein files, and now the sitting president's administration has to say so, as opposed to a change in U.S. posture.
We also heard one of the folks in that video talking about doing it for clicks. This whole industry is for clicks, right? So I think the question, in a way, I'm kind of asking is, you know, if you ride this certain horse into battle, like, it was to their advantage to embrace this when it ginned up interest for him in the party.
Yes.
And now it felt a little bit like he was saying, let the adults talk.
Yeah, I think historically, if you look at those people who back candidates very, very early, they're the first ones to have their hearts broken in certain sort of ways. You go back to the people who endorsed Ronald Reagan in 1976, they were the ones who said, well, wait a second, why are you talking to Russians to begin with? So this is normal. In some sense, it's just because Donald Trump has brought so much abnormality to our politics that we're talking about this kind of stuff.
Oh